Where the money left from, the Internal Revenue Service data reveals a precise picture of where that income originated. The pattern is unmistakable. The highest tax states in America are the biggest losers. State net AGI lost to outmigration: California, $11.9 billion, New York, $9.9 billion, Illinois, $6.0 billion, Massachusetts, $4.0 billion, New Jersey, $2.6 billion. These are not average households leaving. The Tax Foundation analysis of the same Internal Revenue Service data notes that Florida attracted income at a rate of approximately $184,771 per new resident, a figure that reflects the concentration of high net worth households in this migration wave. $20.6 billion. Reasons Florida is the wealth migration capital of America. Most people don't realize that the most important real estate data point of 2026 didn't come from Zillow or the National Association of Realtors. It came from the Internal Revenue Service, and it confirms something those of us on Florida's Gulf Coast have watched unfold in real time for years. According to newly released Internal Revenue Service migration data covering 2022 to 2023 tax filings, Florida gained $20.65 billion in net adjusted gross income as taxpayers relocated from other states. That figure is not just a record, it is more than 3 times the next closest competitor. Texas, the second-place state, captured $5.5 billion. Florida's advantage over the entire field is nearly 4-to-1. California, by contrast, lost income per departing resident at a rate that reflects the departure of top earners, not just residents seeking affordability. The financial math behind the move. Here's what's interesting. The income savings from relocating to Florida are not marginal. They are transformational. A household earning $250,000 annually can save $15,000 to $30,000 per year in state income tax simply by establishing Florida domicile. A household earning $500,000 or more may save over $40,000 annually. For a $1 million earner, annual state income tax savings can exceed $100,000. Over a decade, those savings compound. $30,000 per year invested or deployed into Gulf Coast real estate equity becomes $300,000 to $500,000 or more in accumulated wealth that was simply being transferred to a state treasury before the move. Florida's 3 structural wealth advantages. The open-minded thing to consider is that Florida's advantages are not preferences. They are structural policy decisions embedded in the state's constitution and statutes. Here are the 3 that matter most for wealth-building clients. No state income tax. Florida's constitution prohibits a state income tax. 0 on wages, retirement income, Social Security, and capital gains. This protection requires a 60% voter supermajority to overturn. No state estate tax. Florida imposes no state-level estate or inheritance tax, meaning generational wealth transfers occur without the additional erosion that families face in California, New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts. Homestead exemption plus Save Our Homes cap. Primary Florida residents qualify for the homestead exemption, plus the Save Our Homes cap that limits annual assessed value increases to 3%, or CPI, whichever is lower. In 2025, the cap was 2.9%. When you sell and purchase another Florida home, you can port up to $500,000 of your accumulated savings to your new property. What this means for Gulf Coast real estate right now. What if I told you that a Sarasota homeowner who established their homestead exemption 10 years ago is today assessed at a fraction of their home's current market value, and that gap represents tens of thousands of dollars in annual tax savings that a new buyer on the same street does not have? Gulf Coast markets are experiencing something remarkable: sustained demand from a structurally motivated buyer pool. These are not speculative investors chasing appreciation. They are high-earning households running a 10-year financial analysis and concluding that Gulf Coast real estate is the highest leverage decision they can make. The Internal Revenue Service data, $20.65 billion in 1 year, is simply the ledger that confirms what we see on the ground every week. Sarasota's single-family median home price closed 2025 at $485,000. Waterfront luxury properties on Longboat Key, Siesta Key, and Bird Key regularly trade between $4 million and $9 million, with luxury condos on Longboat Key reaching $10 million or more in recent closings. The Florida luxury market statewide recorded 361 ultra-luxury closings, properties above $10 million, in 2025 alone, the second highest annual total on record. This is not a niche segment. It is the front line of the wealth migration story. Just imagine a family that purchased a Gulf Coast waterfront home a decade ago, established their homestead exemption, and has watched their assessed value rise at 3% per year while market values climbed dramatically. Their tax exposure is a fraction of what a new buyer would pay. And when they are ready to move to a larger property, they can transfer up to $500,000 of that accumulated savings to their next Florida home, carrying their wealth building advantage with them. That is build, protect, transfer in real numbers. The good news is there is still positioning available across Gulf Coast submarkets from Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch to Naples and Marco Island. The $20.65 billion has moved. The families behind those returns are buying homes, establishing domicile, and beginning to compound the financial advantages that come with long-term Florida ownership. Would you be open to a complimentary wealth strategy consultation to explore how a Gulf Coast property fits your family's financial picture? Call or text Brandy Loebker at 9414044737 or visit thecoffeegroup.com. The math is compelling. The window is open. Let's talk.